What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? You know what time it is. Episode 86 in the mix, big baby. We got a guest, Be Like Hats today. Before we get started, you know what time it is. No financial advice. And if you got yourself an Android and or an iPhone, do yourself a favor. Stay up to date with the latest cryptocurrencies and NFTs. Without further ado, I'm your host, Gaddis TV. What's going on, y'all? Happy call. And let's get to it. All righty, and we are live in direct hats, and I even said I was gonna say we're not live in direct. We're live in the metaverse, I guess, in that essence of it. But hats, man, I want to say thank you for coming on, taking some time at your late night right now, and sharing a little about yourself. So I appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, no worries. Nice to be here, man. Thanks very much for inviting me. It was good to bump into you in spaces, and very pleased to be here.
Hey, likewise. For the people that don't know, because some people will know you, because kind of like you just said, we met each other in the spaces, and I'm sure some other people have as well. Before we get to the art part of it, tell us a little bit of background about yourself. How did you get introduced in crypto in general? Or was it Solana or the good old BTC? How did you get introduced into crypto?
Yeah, crypto was kind of, I don't know, back in 2017, shared house, friends buying drugs with BTC, and that's how it goes, right? And then, and I think he was like, you got to look at this, it does this, and so on and so forth. That's kind of how everybody or how a lot of people slip in. But I remember we lived in that house for a year, and I remember a friend minted a CryptoPunk, and he was a friend. He'd worked in like the media industry for a while, so he'd heard some cool shit, and we were chatting shit and somewhere, and he it was a confusing story. And I remember that tickled my interest in the idea that you could own something digital, and that was enough for me to journey into crypto and NFTs and become who I am.
There we go. I like with the people then I guess that don't know. I'm curious where the name Hats Be Like Hats come from. Do you just like hats? Yeah. You make hats. Like where the name come from? Where did that come from?
Well, I like your hat right now. Can I just say, yeah, it's pretty sick.
A caca.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say caca. I don't have a fuck about, but I do like hats. That's the main reason why I call myself Hats. But there's a few reasons. One, my dad's just always worn like sick hats, and he's a cool guy. And two, when I started drawing a lot, especially when I did forms or like life drawing classes years back, when I was like desperate to just try and find figures and forms, I kind of would get to the eyes and ears and bottle it, as we say over here. I'd wimp out, and I'd just stick a fucking hat on it. That was it. So my figures had hats, and my teacher would be like, "Where are your hats?" So.
You'd be like, "Why you always got a hats?" Listen, I'm perfecting the hats. Don't worry about
it.
Teacher's like,
you're lazy.
I know this.
Yeah, you'll see in 12 years on a Twitter space.
See it in 12 years. So with the, I guess with the art of it, I'm just kind of mentioned a little bit on that. Putting hats on. What would you say the word being the lazy? I guess you said.
We're being what? Sorry.
You said it was not bottled or
bottling it.
Okay. No. So what made you start bottling it? Was it just because you're lazy on that one? Or, I mean, hair's not too hard to do, or you can be like, hey man, this guy has no hair. And
it's weird. I had it the other way around. I always had like a lot of people massively struggle with hands, where I'd always seem to get the hands well. So, in a parallel dimension, my name might be Hands because maybe I nailed the head, and then, I'd put like fucking gloves on the hands or something. I don't know. I could have been Hands. It was faces, it was positions, and it was easier to just submerge like all that neck in a hat,
No, for sure. When did you I guess start dabbling with I guess drawing then? Was the first start there? Yeah. When is that first, honestly, that first memory when you're like, man, I either don't want to do this and I did it? Like, do you have honestly a first memory of it, or is it just mush?
Yeah, I do. No, I do. I have. I didn't do university. I wasn't classically trained. I was supposed to be, but the plan. Well, it was weird. The moment where I knew that I wanted to do the art thing was when I was teeing up the idea of going to London and doing studying, and instead I worked in. I got a bit of a break in fashion, so like because I had one eye on kind of tailoring. I was only young. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but like I could see that like I could draw runway figures really well. I just liked it. I wasn't even into like I didn't know anything about the fashion and shit, but like I just really liked it. If you go out your time and look at runway drawings, like they're really fun to draw because it's like a figure walking, right? So and then I went and did that for a while. I say a while, a couple of months when I moved up, and then I got the gist of it. But and this is really important for the NFT thing, really, like the idea of, so hey, how did you get into NFT? The reason is because that was 2008, 2009, and the industry just took people for granted then more than ever. It was almost the peak, and I really, really urge people to think about that word with like when people were getting taken advantage of most. Mid 2000s was amazing for designers, illustrators, artists to be taken advantage by design companies, fashion companies, retail companies, whatever. And I could just sort of see it a bit. I had friends that were older than me, mainly siblings friends that kind of worked in creative industry, and I remember being like, looking at them, they were like mid-30s, sharing houses in like North London and scraping by and high-fiving when they got a job with packaging for like Asda or whatever. And I remember just being like, this is shit. Like, I don't want to do this. So I just fucking didn't do it. I just stopped nearly everything. A combination of just wanting to party and be young and all that shit. But I just stopped creating for a very long time. I moved into music. But yeah, that was
what type of music?
that was
Musician as an artist, piano, flute, saxophone, trombone. Well, what was your or producing? Like what was your?
Yeah, it was production mainly. It was I mean, I'd dabbled in playing piano and stuff, but I was never really any good. But no, it was production. It was sort of electronic music initially in any form that had a beat so that I could make something to smile to. But it moved very quickly into music concrete and techno, avant-garde, drone music, because I was in Berlin by that point and I just was surrounded by synthesizers and fucking people dressed in black and a lot of drugs and street art. And that's the big one, was just like people always go immediately to graffiti and hip hop. Fair, totally makes sense. Of course, we all know why. But in Europe, electronic music and street art is very, very synonymous with one another. And it has a deep resonance, particularly in Germany. And that's why I moved there. Yeah.
When it's not to be too personal to put you on the spot. I guess how long have you been on there? Just
No.
Go ahead. I would say a good couple years because from the thing, I guess since like I'm gonna say 2012. It's a random guess, am I right? Damn, I'm good. I don't know why the gut was like, listen, he said 2008. He was dabbling with this, fucked with some music. Woo! I didn't go buy a lot of tickets. Thank you for coming out. This podcast is done. We're getting rich.
Nice. No, you did it. You nailed it. Actually, that was then, and I just went out because I wanted to study at this school in music production, but it was just so much money, so I just didn't do it. But I contacted them and they were like, oh yeah, we need someone to like help out in the studios and like help the students and shit. Yeah, so they gave me like a part-time job. It was pretty low paid, and then after 6 months they bumped me up. That was sweet. I had like a couple of gigs in a couple of bars by then, and I was fucking around with spray cans and like just bumming around Berlin really. And, so like life was like making a lot of sense. So it was all clued up. Like it was good. It was never supposed to be that, but it ended up being, now I look back, I'm like, it was really great. I really wanted it to be more music orientated, but actually what I left with was like enormous designs on sort of business and art in different ways. It wasn't, Berlin is very saturated. That's what I'm trying to say.
I heard that.
Mm.
To an extent, I heard that because I've never been to Berlin. But ironically, if you do see behind the little pineapple there, I actually do have a piece of the Berlin Wall. Shout out to my grandpa back in the day when over there. Yeah, man. I think it's really cool, even though I'm not in Germany, but I'm like, yeah, it's history, bro. Like, what's good, bro?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Sorry for random tangents. You know, as I said, I got off work and I'm just, my mind's going everywhere. With the, I guess like the art and everything you do, just looking on the Twitter, for people that might be listening and aren't watching anything like that. It just says painter, the manga, and I'll probably mispronounce that honestly. Animator, line work, streets. Are those the type of things you are doing as far as artwork, or quick breakdown?
Yeah.
What are each of those? What are you doing with those?
Yeah, sure. I should probably at some point concentrate them a little bit more so they're not. It's just that okay, so I've worked and produced art on the streets in different formats. So, but one of the things has always been wheat paste, classic wheat paste posting, flicking things onto a wall and making them stick and then working out from them. But from that is enormous kind of line work, and it's very it's late, what the hell's the word, it's comprehensive sometimes because you have to work from source material when you're wheat pasting. A lot of the time, like it's a little bit different with stenciling, similar to, but definitely graph work is like they're different flavors of ice cream. And what I mean is that you work from source material. So I found it really natural to bring Japanese stuff into the stuff I put on streets, and that just fit with like my obsession for manga, my obsession with anime, OVAs, and fucking anything I can get my hand on. That made sense. So have tried to translate that a lot into what I'm about to do and want to do in Web3, and some of the plans I have going forward. So yeah, painter, manga, line work, it's hard to describe exactly because sometimes I would, you only have to look at people like Art Tech and John Lee to understand what illustration looks like. So I tend to veer away a bit from the illustrative side of things. Equally, I would never say I'm a typographer or graphic designer, so it's hard to label yourself, right? But yeah.
No, for sure. With the, I guess with the artwork, I mean, I know, I guess you said you did some of the drawings, the music, things like that. Were you ever, I guess, trying to, or have you ever like sold your work on the Web two way like forms, or was Solana the first one that you came over on the Web 3? Because I know we've talked to some people on ETH, Solana, Tezo.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been fortunate to have my work in like different capacities. I've sold work in different ways. Musically, I've been more productive in that field than painting and artwork. The thing is that like, especially with artwork, especially with street art stuff, is that the postering in Berlin particularly that came out of like me basically chucking event posters on walls, because I got the chance to basically, that was a side job that I got. So you get like a bunch of posters from the local record store and you'd go and post them up and they give you like €100. Sweet. And then after a while I was like, oh right, this is like a total art form, And then I started like putting my own stuff up. Mate had spray cans, we'd fuck around, yada yada, there you go. And you push them going forward and so forth. But production for me, music production, was like a lot more like, I was in studios and I was making music and I sat with synthesizers. I was like, I definitely want to do this. And so that ended up building into an album that I mixed and mastered and put out there in 2015. Yeah, I mean, it lives online in the darkest realms. I haven't really shared it through as hats. Maybe I will at some point, not sure. But I would say
that NFT, bro. There you go. Boom. You got an artwork and some OG music that you made.
That's it. That's what people keep saying. But yeah, maybe I will. But Solana and the breaks I've had since I've jumped into the space, they have been the they are the real thing, really. There's no that I'm not going to beat around the bush and say that I was this guy that should be translated better into this space. I've really built a lot of my identity online because of what's been available to me, and actually, I'm really proud of that, and I think people should be like, this is it's the reason I've felt so liberated. It's because it's provided me with concrete platform. I didn't have that in any way before.
And when you mean that, you mean, I guess, kind of like online in general, because or I guess
Yeah.
even like with the, okay, because I mean, I know a lot of people that's came on, and that's what they say. I mean, it's, of course, it can be intimidating, either just on like the Twitter Spaces or putting your work on like that, and even on the last podcast, I'm gonna talk about, even though I'm like the host, sometimes even myself, I'm like, all right, let's get it, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
honestly, that's a little thing that I think is honestly a big thing in the realm, where again, it's very simple and easy to think about, where it's like, hey, I can be in the Twitter Spaces with a couple people, but those couple people interested, they want to hear about the story, they want to hear about what's going on, and the message behind it.
Yeah.
So those are the beauties of it, because again, people buy art, but they buy people as well, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, I see what you mean, and it's there's all these different stories. It's really important to. I think that one of the best things with Solana is that there's, or at least the way that it looks like it's been to me, is that it's a very there's a grounding feature to all this. There's a common denominator, which is it's the we're all early thing. Like everyone's just really supportive of one
Happy to
another
help.
because it's available. There's an availability. There's a visibility. Yeah, does that make sense? So
No,
for
100%.
me, so for me to translate into the space from, I've said it to Toshi many times. I've talked to the ministry guys a lot about it before. Making artwork in the shadows, and then suddenly having a visibility is a very strange thing. But more than that, being dejected at 18 because the industry is just so bad, and just hating kind of what university was, all these things, shelving everything. Actually, that's a common denominator for everyone too. That's a shared story. That's not Hats exclusive. That's like common, right? We do these things.
100%.
Just that's it. So we suddenly have this opportunity. That's what's great. So yeah, that's what I've done since. I'm trying to think. So again, it's late. So I'm 20, 22, 21, and I came into the space around September last year. Mm.
With the creative process, I would say, with the, honestly, like music and art, because I know you said you're big into the music, you're doing art now. Are they similar processes? Because overall, I'm a visual person, so like whenever you see it, say you were talking about like the synchronizers and everything like that, just visually like seeing you like doing everything, seeing like that. Is that, I guess, how you produced your music? And then is that how you produce your art as well? Or are they two different kind of forms?
Good question. Yeah, man, you kind of got me there. I mean, I think in the sense that I'm like, yeah, I do make them both similarly. I think I've always struggled with. So okay, so put it in context. I remember sitting in the studio once in Germany when this chick came over from Sydney. She was a friend of a friend, and she was like, "Hey, look, I've got this." She was gigging a lot. She was a good DJ, and she had some tracks to finish, and she was like, I need to get in somewhere. I need Ableton, like I need it ready, and I need like some real good speakers. Like, I was like, yeah. I've got like a studio through the school. You can just come and eat. I mean, these were state of the art. And she came in and we had a chat, and she loaded up her project. And I sat there and I was like, holy fuck! Like the amount of stems and tracks and manipulators and presets that she had. Like it was someone very different. And I knew where she trained, and I knew some of the people that were helping her with the tunes, and it all made sense. And I looked and thought, shit, I'm like a 8-track guy. Like, like this is so funny seeing people work differently, right? So yeah, I tend to like put my stuff to paper pretty quickly. As I'm developing my taste, I like to plan more. I would say it's something that as I get older, I'm less impatient, but I work pretty quick. Some of the shit I've done recently hasn't been that quick, but I do work fast. I like to work fast.
Question on, and I'm an overthinker. I always think it's funny because before I ask this question, I'm like, man, I wonder if people are gonna lie because they're like, oh, I do it in 3 minutes, 2 minutes, an hour. On average, I mean, you kind of said it's quick on that. What how long does a painting or an artwork like take you on that one? Or again, of course, everything could be different, but is there an overall
Yeah,
time realm?
it is different. I mean, I think that like today I painted from 12 till 5, and I kind of got a piece done in that time, so that was 5 hours. Um, but and that was oil and chalk. I really enjoyed doing that today. I was trying to revisit some techniques, but I'd say I have a natural. My brain goes very weird after 4 hours. Especially with the iPad, because obviously I switched lots of stuff to digital. So today I deliberately worked in front of a piece of paper so that I could just fucking stop looking at my bloody phone and look at my iPad and all these things, right? Because you just work digitally. And so it was good to do that again because I hadn't in a little while. And but yeah, I have a natural sort of, I need to go and eat like some rice immediately and sleep, 4 hours.
Get my eyes off of this thing.
Yeah, just like be normal. Yeah.
Question with the because I mean, hopefully someone's listening that might be thinking about wanting to do art and putting it on the blockchain. When you mean I guess like doing it digitally, are you taking pictures like scanning it of the work you're doing that way? Because I guess you're just saying you're doing the paintings like the oils. Do you do it that way and then got a scanner, or that's just one realm you're doing and then you got the Mac over there for the other realm? How's that done?
Yeah, so creative process for me is changing. I actually researched recently to try and look into cameras so that I could do what you just said, which is essentially take some sort of 50 mil shots of my work, so that of my oil and paint work, so that I can put it in, right. Also some street stuff that I do, spray paint, whatever. But actually, on the whole, I work with an iPad Pro using Procreate. It's been one of the best investments like ever made. I was in a space the other day. It was really interesting listening to certain people that haven't made that swap, and they haven't made that. So they've worked in maybe analog or paper for years, and then they're talking and they haven't got the funds or they're thinking about it. And I was every time I hear someone say that, I'm like, just fucking do it. Just even if it's a reconditioned iPad Mini, like just have a play. You will not believe this. It's a game changer. Like it blew my mind because I was never much of a Photoshop guy. The idea of a mouse and it just never. I don't know.
Is that hard learning? Because I don't have one of the things like that, but I would have to buy like the pen that way compared to the mouse. Like, was it?
Oh my god, yeah. It's like if you're talking. I don't know how to. I don't know what it's comparative to. It's like, what's it like? I don't know.
I feel it'd be like writing with your opposite hand, like trying to draw, but with the mouse. Like it's.
It feels like. I don't know. It's so different. It's so tactile and quick and like instant results and these Apple pens onto it's incredible. It doesn't have to be Apple, but in my opinion, if you want to work very tactile and make things malleable, there's some great stuff with the pen and the screen at the minute. It's amazing. It's unreal that this exists. Like when I was growing up and the stuff we had available, that was nowhere near my realm of possibility.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I've had someone I think talk about it before, because hopefully artists in general will be listening. It's pretty darn like you press on it harder, like it's almost like exactly like a pen pencil, like a brush. Is that correct, or is it like off, or is it pretty damn on point?
Yeah, it's on point. Yeah, it's got some amazing features for velocity, which is what you're talking about. being able to press things down and so on. But the other thing is you just get these little tiny upgrades. And there's this like paper feeling sheet you can put on it, and it suddenly makes it feel like paper, and then you're like,
Really?
then you're away. Yeah, yeah. Suddenly, then you're like, oh shit, I'm drawing on paper. It's great.
I'm good. I'm getting back home.
That's it. It's a good hack, that one. I mean, it's quite common, but yeah, it's a good hack.
No, I like it. With the stuff you're working on now, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you had an auction, I guess yesterday. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
What was that on? Is
Yeah,
anything
sure.
still up? What's up with that?
No. Yeah, so no, they both sold. So it was my first auction on Form Function. After getting accepted, which was cool. It's a really, really good website. I couldn't pick possibly between them and Exchange. I think they're just both excellent. And they're both doing terrific things for artists in the community. Much like Holoplex has done too. Must be important to shout out Holoplex for being it's like an OG thing, isn't it? So, but anyway, Form Function UI makes a lot of sense. The community is strong. And I put 2 pieces up to kick off a series called Mecha World, which kind of translates to like, Mecha World. And the idea behind this is, if you don't mind me just saying about it, but it's
This is all you, big dog.
it's gonna be a series. I haven't really decided. I don't know if it's gonna be 8, 12, or 16, 20 doesn't feel right at the minute. But basically it's these robots, and they are on a land, Orion X-21, on a planet. And there's been this enormous war with the humans, and the humans have been wearing mecha suits, have been trying so hard. And the whole point is that they've failed, and it's sort of the next stage, because man's demise is suddenly governed by the idea of robots. And I don't think anyone ever really asks, then what do the robots do? Like, the sentient response of human death by a robot. And I've always just been fascinated. I'm a big sci-fi geek, and I mean that like big time. Listening to Celestial Body speak the other night on a Twitter Spaces, and I was like, wow, that's the first person I've heard talk about like novels that I love in a while. And so yeah, the idea for the robots is that each robot goes up online onto auction. There's 2 versions, usually. There might just be one sometimes. And I've also written what's it called, like a chapter, like a story. And anyone that bids on the pieces gets airdropped that as an NFT as well. And it sort of is each chapter is like the robot that you're seeing. It's their story, it's their song, their poem, their like kind of like thought about what's happening. And yeah, I just think it was a really nice way of like making a collection, but not making a collection, making a series but not a series. I see a lot of people putting together things, mini series, and it's really damning. It's really sad. Like, people put together 50 collections and hundreds of collections, or sometimes even 20 collections, and they're not, even though they're brilliant creators, then it hasn't glued up right. It hasn't, and I don't know why that happens, but I think a lot of the time it's that people have never thought about telling a story. They've never thought about making things a narrative for people. In fact, one of the best examples of seeing it recently has been done well is Juicy and his I think it's called the Holy Trinity collection, and seeing, so there's a pull there, there's an understanding. It was released at the right points, affinity with an actual a chronology and a timeline that you lived, because it like Easter Sunday and shit like that. And then like you've got the story, you've got the pieces, and that was just really well considered. He's a smart cookie and his artwork's beautiful. And it's really important that people utilize these brilliant opportunities we have to make different styles of collections. So Mecha Welt's just this foray into like series for me. It's a creation, it's a bit of a story, and I really wanted like something different, and I picked robots.
No, I like it. I like how it's more than just, putting something on there. It's actually in depth thinking of hey, let me do this, this, and this. It's just more of just a. Granted, sometimes throwing stuff on the wall looks fire as shit, but it's nice to. It's passion, you know what I mean. So you
Yeah.
have a thought you want to have done, and you're making it happen. So that's the beauty of it on there.
Mm.
So I guess those are already done. Are
Yeah.
you working on new stuff right now that you can tell people? I mean, it's not live or anything right this second. Any stuff you're working
Yeah.
on? What's
Yeah.
Hats
So
doing?
okay, so I guess it's a good place to talk about it. But yeah, and I've got there's a couple of things. So there's an ongoing collection with Exchange, which is called Glyphs, and there's a development in that which is pretty exciting. So Glyphs is definitely just like very, very, very street orientated. It focuses nearly completely on tag culture, different types of hand style, block colors, flat lays, like keeping it really kind of good contrast, good form, Um, and underlining the glyphs thing was kind of like this accident that happened where like I was like shit, I'm going to move them over from Holoplex into Exchange. They need to sell. Well, they don't need to. They don't need to sell, but like I need to,
Listen,
So
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, no financial advice, but buy that shit. No financial
exactly,
advice.
exactly.
I didn't
But
get paid for none of this shit. Listen, everything's going in, but But no, I hear you on that.
no, so it was going over, and I needed to think of ways to make it good. And one of the ways was chatting with my mate. He's like, "Why don't you get some footage of you like out pasting and that?" And I was like, "God, man, I can't fucking do that." I was like, "They see my face." And then he was like, "What's your problem with people seeing your face with all this?" And he's like, "I don't understand." And I kind of like checked myself. I was like, "I don't really know why I've got a problem with people." So anyway, I kind of
All right, so
semi-doxed.
we get first time doxing, ladies and gentlemen. Just joking. When we do it, don't worry about it.
But yeah. So basically, I didn't mind people, so I put my mask on, but I like went out, did some pasting, got some footage. My mate edited it together, chucked it up on Exchange. It worked really well. And but what it did was more than being just a promo video, which worked pretty well. The main thing was that it got me thinking about what people could do if they buy my work. So I actually have. I live in a city here. I have a business, and so I can't like be who I used to be anymore. That was like a lot has changed in 5 years, and I can't go out at night and fucking tag shit and like yeah, just
Go
not
party.
gonna happen. It's not gonna work, man. Like yeah, there could be a repercussion. Maybe I'm just being lily living, but I think it would be a problem. But but I do know people. That's the best thing about getting order, right? It's just to actually build better connections. So I actually know some people with some good walls. I actually know someone with a fucking ridiculous wall that's even got some kind of mad situation with these blocks. Oh my god, I even get excited thinking about it. And so at the moment, I'm very close to negotiating 16 blocks on this wall being designated for glyphs so that when one sells, it goes onto this road and this wall, which, by the way, is a really busy street. It's a really busy wall. So you've got a lot of people walking by, you've got a lot of footage, vision. So that's the development of glyphs. And then the other development is that I'm doing some animated stuff with a sound design friend of mine. I've pinned it to my Twitter page, and I'm just calling it a hats loop, and it's genuinely just taking advantage of the fact that on an iPhone you can take multiple frame shots of your own face very, very quickly, and they don't blur anymore. And like that type of technology was not available a long time ago. So like, so I can now get people, scrunching up something or like screaming or like eating a banana or like throwing something, and you can and I was just like, holy shit, I can animate because that's frames. So I can just chuck that into that, and then I can just be hats all over it. And if I bang it together and put enough like loop energy with the music, then I'll have something and it fucking come out good.
Nice. When You say that's out, or you're working on that? When?
That is the if you want to call it the fucking Genesis piece. I think people throw away that term a lot, man. Genesis were a shit band back in the 70s, but yeah. Anyway, let's just call it like the first piece, and that's going to the Ministry Vault.
Nice.
Yeah, that's going to be part of the Ministry of Arts vault, which will be, you know, sales and so on. I'm part of the ministry, part of URS, but yeah, that one's ministry.
For people that don't know what, because we've had some artists that have been on with the ministry and the URS, but why are you with them? As artists, you know, thinking about joining, can you join? Is it invite only?
Yeah.
What are those, and how do you get to it?
Okay, what are those? So with art, what one thing I will say is that I think that because there's a level of agency involved, and a lot of the dialogue with Toshi, Naomi, Boo, and the other team members is that it's very artist involved. And even though that maybe they haven't quite got to that point yet, because they've been developing a lot of their inner systems, their mint, which went well, sold out, and because they're developing those things, perhaps the artist agency thing quite hasn't started yet, but it will, because they're developing capital to build it. You cannot have enormous amounts of artists straight from the off. You know, it's not going to work. So at the moment, I'm just one of a very privileged amount of artists. I think it's 20 that are involved, maybe 21, involved with the ministry. I am massively humbled and honored to be a part of. More than that, because that makes it sound a bit cheese, right? But listen, I've never had people. You know, I think at one point I thought I was putting out some good music when I was about 23, 24, and I was, you know, I was getting good gigs, and it was, you know, that industry is very, very flimsy, and it's quite intoxicating. It's hedonistic. It can leave you pretty powerless. But one of the big things is, for me now, looking back, and I knew it for years, is that it's very unhelpful, and people do. It's a common flaw in that world of performance and music, not just techno. And that it's more just any industry. Yeah, for sure. And it's dog eat dog. And I think that to come into Solana ecosystem and make art, to be able to fucking sell art crazy. Furthermore, for someone to pick you up and not only say, look, I think your art's really good, but also be like, do you want to be a part of something? Because I'd like you to, and I think you have something to give. That is, in fact, I never thought that dialogue would happen in my life, really. So for that alone,
hindsight, do you think that's because kind of what you mentioned on before, having I guess a platform, kind of just like Twitter, where you can like have your stuff out there and share your work? Maybe not exactly Twitter, but having more of that realm to share your stuff. Because I guess looking in hindsight, you kind of hear in your voice, you kind of I guess not thrown up, but more like amazed. Like looking back at it, I guess what type of tips would you give yourself now? Because again, great things are going on, but
okay. Well, I think one of the so Toshi and Boo Ministry, that they asked me to be part of it. That was great. And but before that, the reason why it happened for me is because, okay, so I was working on, this is fucking weird. Okay, listen. So basically last year I got hit by no, sorry. I've been hit by a car on my bike a lot in my life. It's really fucked up. I don't ride a bike anymore. But last year I didn't get hit by a car, but I broke my hand again. Riding my bike.
We're gonna be going back to these stories, because you said he got hit multiple times by a car and another time of breaking a wrist. But go on.
I've got quite a lot of trauma from car accidents.
Sidewalks in Germany.
Yeah, they do, and loads of speed. But yeah, but they've got like massive roads here, and I still managed to get hit. But no, I broke my hand again, and so it meant I had an enormous amount of time by myself. And so towards the end of summer, I was healing, I was drawing more. And what that meant was I went on holiday and I reinvestigated lots of kind of panel work from artists that I love. And I even managed to even build my own form into some of the panels. So I was like actually getting character form for things. So the main one was Katsushiro Otomo, which is Akira. And I looked at Akira and I looked at Tetsuya. I'd lost a friend due to drugs, and Tetsuya was always this. It just was complicated anyway. Just reading. I mean, I must have read the books about 5 times. I got them upstairs. I've had them a long time, and the film, obviously, the film is the film. But what was jumping out at me, right, was like I would read. I'm just like, oh my god, babe, look at that, look at the fear in his face, like, you know. And I just had to start drawing it. So I was drawing and drawing. Then we went on holiday because I was healing up. I was slowly getting back to work, and then my mister was like, I think you need to get away again because you're getting stressed. So we went away to Greece, and then I was drawing on the beach and that with my iPad and that, and I was just like loving life. And I did about 4 drawings that I thought were good, and I was like, fucking hell, these are quite good. I'm feeling like I'm doing this again. I haven't done this in years. What's going on? And it was of Tetsuya. It was all of Tetsuya. It was constantly, and he become my fucking muse. I mean, like, you know, that's a mental thing. You know, most people have, you know, birds that they've, you know, been frequenting romantically as their muse, or men and teachers, and, you know, or if you want to be serendipitous and from Manchester, a bus driver or something romantic like that. But like, you know, for me, it was like a fucking fake character, and I was obsessed with the guy. And so what happened was I was like, babe, I think this could be like a collection. And I swear to God, I had no intention, no thought whatsoever of it going to be a collection on Solana. And what I'm trying to get to here is that I put together a collection of work, or at least I was putting together a collection of work, and then I started looking at ways for it to live, right? And in my head, I was like, I wonder if it could be like a collection of 50 or something, like, you know, fucking hell, I haven't seen it. Or maybe 100. Shit, maybe it could be 100. And then because I had some NFTs on ETH and stuff, because, you know, I was trying to be a moon boy or whatever. No, I wasn't really. I had some tips from friends to buy like certain things, and they were obviously all shit. But at least I knew what OpenSea was, and I knew what ETH was. And the main thing was that it was just this outrageously slow, clunky, bullshit, congested, gas fee ridden thing. I remember being like, it just seemed shit. And so I started trying to find Twitter pages with Solana, and I stumbled out of the blue, mainly because I like Krat Studio. But Krat Studio has a lot of good work, and he'd released a collection on this thing called Distorted NFT. So I was looking. So my tip to anyone, I was genuinely keeping my eye out for the best, most sort of plausible plan to do something coherent with my art, because you can just fall into traps, or you can do the opposite, and there are no traps, and there is nobody around, and there is nothing, and you just throw it up in the air. You just chuck it on Holoplex and just have 10 followers and just be like, oh, weird, my artwork isn't selling. You know, that's common. That's fine. It's hard. So what happened was I managed to find these guys that were like releasing art, and they had 2,000 people in their Discord, and I was their next artist. They said yes. I released 100 pieces, and they sold out in an hour and a half. Like, it's crazy. And that was absolutely crazy. And the week before that, I had 10 pieces go to auction that were from the collection. I didn't like that, by the way. Just disclaimer, I was totally mismanaged in that position because 10 pieces were taken out of the collection and put onto auction because Exchange were launching their auction site. And I didn't have a fucking clue. And they sold, one of them sold for 12 sol. Like, I was a nobody, you know. And yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And then the next week there was a public sale, so you could have waited and you could have bought them at the public sale too. Sorry, I didn't know. I didn't even know it was going to happen. I mean, I didn't even know any of this shit. You know, it was Distorted NFT, but they put it together. Unfortunately, Distorted Entity had some really bad news just before the mint, and they now do not operate, which is really sad. I think it was the writing was on the wall a little bit with Distorted, but I would just like to say, if for some reason those guys are listening, they gave me a break, and it was like mega, and I really appreciate that. And then, so my point is that for people moving into the space, guys, that was a very long way of getting to it, is that you have the opportunity to take a breath and find a really good route, and just be like, fucking talk to people, man. Just be like, what do you think? Bounce things off and just protect yourself a bit. Like, this is your artwork, man. This is your fucking sword and shield. Like, absolutely do not let someone just manipulate that, or equally, do not just put it on the floor. It's got to be good. You got to make it right. Yeah. And it's a really, really good space for that, man. It's fucking good for that. Like you commented on it earlier, it's supportive, right?
As harder question again, it's not gonna be an exact answer, but how do you think an artist should value their work, being either new, things like that? Because with auctions, I know I guess I'm assuming, because I've never done anything on the auction, you can set it at certain prices, songs like that. Would you do it kind of in the sense of not exactly following part of stuff, but yeah, you can't put it for like 400 soul and you got like 2 people following you, but at the same time, like, again, you do something with your work, it takes you 4, 5, 6 hours. You don't want to put it on for like 0.0045 soul. You'd be like, I'm glad someone has the work, but again, money's money. People have to pay bills, things like that.
It's really hard, man. It's really hard. I think that I actually messaged Naomi and was like, yo, what do I do about like pricing my work? I've got no idea. So I would say for the glyphs, when I launched the glyphs on Holoplex, I put them up for a sol each, and they sold. The next set of auctions that I did for the glyphs, I put them for 2 sol each, and I would probably do the same, but and then for the robots that I just recently put up too, I put reserve of 2 sol. The reason I'm saying that is that I think sometimes you look at your work, and I think that you've got to be really fair about hours. I mean, if you have put an enormous amount of work into something, then don't cut yourself short. Just start there. Like, don't sell yourself short, man. Just don't, like, because you never know. Even if you do only have X amount of followers, or you're not that confident and stuff, that's okay, man. You'll get all that. You'll be great. But you never know whose eye you're going to catch. Someone might just chuck in that bid they want. But for starting out, I think that it's quite wise to much do what I did, where I think Sol was at like $85 when I so I was really I was even thinking about putting it like low, because Sol was so low. I kept it at 80. My point is keep it relative to the pound or the dollar, a bit as well. Don't forget, like, you do live in real life. So like, match it to that a bit, and just keep it low, and just and build it. I am still, like, my I'm saying, oh yeah, I had that Tetsuya auction, and it's so that was not a fluke, but I tell you, it was that makes me sound like I'm putting myself down a bit, but it was great timing. It was there was a bit of fortune in there, and it was a very popular focus. Akira is collectible. There are maxis. So what I'm trying to say is just that really clicked for some people that are just straight up. You know what I compare it to? It's like a covers band. It's like when you go to a bar and there's a covers band, or they're playing their own songs, right? And you're like, oh, oh, and everyone's going crazy. Yeah, man, I know that song. Great, man. Everyone loves Kings Leon. Nobody loves Kings Leon, but everyone knows. Everyone knows. But no, everyone knows that shit. And if they suddenly break into, their new song that they wrote last week, then everyone's a bit like looking around and enjoying the band that, and if it's really good, then maybe there's a chance that people are into it. But it's very, very brave of people to even put their own work out there. So props to that, and maybe keep your price low so you don't alienate people. Yeah.
No, I always wonder because again, even if if it's just one thing, then hey, I have no idea how to price it on that. But as long as you have more, like kind of,
Yep.
I guess, consistently have some things. I mean, again, you can find that medium, that realm.
Mm.
As I honestly just look at the cost. The time I got you at 50 minutes. I'm already 20 past what I told you, big dog. So I apologize on that. So
That's
I'll
all right.
wrap it up here very, very soon. I was gonna say with the I forgot exactly what I was gonna say with the actual art on there. On I guess the like collaborations. Did you do collaborations? What are your thoughts on like collaborations with artists? Going like just in general. I've always wondered with
Mm-hmm.
like, is that a good thing, bad thing? Because of course everyone wants to see their work done, but if
Yeah,
if I'm doing
yeah.
art and you're doing art,
I'll be.
listen, your stuff's gonna be a lot better than mine. So like, how do those things work?
Yeah, sure. Collaborations. I think that I'm yet to do any with any peers in the. I'm not a very collaborating guy.
Yeah,
Um,
totally cool.
I don't really do it much. I probably will. I think I'd like to do it with a good 3D artist. I'm a massive fan of one of my peers in the group. He's Outsiders. He's from Sri Lanka, and his work is what his work is insane. It's really, really, really good. Also, Arsene Volta. I hope I pronounced your name right. But his work's also amazing. I just look at this. So there's people within the group that I'm like, I would love to like take a part of that and make it hats and make it great. What do I think about it? I think fucking do it. Like yeah, definitely do it if you can. The
Yeah,
URS is really good for that. I mean, URS artists collaborate together a lot, man. It's great.
tell yeah. With the last couple questions with the hats, what's your favorite hat to draw? Yeah, we getting
It's funny.
deep.
It's fun. Yeah, it's funny you should say that. But the earlier, I nearly fucked this painting because I was like, I nearly did what old George does and just so I put like a bowler. I nearly always do this sort of weird fusion of a bowler and fedora.
Okay.
Um, but as I've got like, because I used to do caps a lot because it's quite street. But yeah, now it's always this like, what it looks like. I don't know if you remember when Pharrell was rocking it for quite a while. That like
Mm-hmm.
massive, that huge sort of fedora thing he was doing.
Yep.
Kind of
Actually,
like, yeah, yeah, that kind of oversized fedora thing. That's kind of what I draw.
I like it. Do you getting deep again? Gwen, deep again. What do you got a favorite type of hat? We going snapbacks, fitted, cowboy hat, fedora. You know what I mean?
for,
Those
me-
big
for,
old
for,
polka dotted ones. What you working with?
For me personally, yeah, I nearly always just rock something you're wearing, maybe like a 5 panel. I don't think I can do the snapback or trucker thing too much because I've got an enormous head, kind of like elephantitis, like megacephaly. Like I'm always worried it's still growing. Like I wake up and touch it and shit because I'm scared
It's
my head's
still
growing.
going.
Yeah, it's still growing. So like, yeah, I've got to be careful what the types of hat I wear. I've got to make sure they don't make my head look small.
No, I like it. With the I guess the places where people can find you at, is it just at the
Mm.
Instagram? Do you have Instagram? Is it a
Yeah,
Twitter's? Where can people find you at? Shout out
yeah.
yourselves.
Yeah, I kind of did a cleanup on Instagram a while back and switched a lot of stuff around. I've got a lot more followers on that than I do on Twitter, but Twitter is kind of the place where I'm much more active. So Instagram is Hats Artist, Twitter is Be Like Hats, and yeah, that's where you'll catch me most of the time. I mean, Twitter, I'm trying my best to be very, very, very active on Twitter. I want people to feel the identity of my work now. I want to talk to them. I want to show them a lot. I'm quite a community focused guy, so I'm very open to help. Like I always want to help people, always in real life and online. Yeah, so Twitter really mainly.
Twitter's the go-to. Um,
Mm.
any I guess any honesty stuff that we haven't really talked about that you you've wanted to, I guess, talk about or mention on, or anything we haven't really spoke on, like closing comments, anything
No,
like that, or
just just that, like, yeah, I don't know, maybe no, we've touched on a lot of stuff. I think that I'm excited for the growth of the space. I'm very, very confident. I think that it's really important for people to take confidence in that this isn't going anywhere. I know that there's a lot of fear with people where it's like, shit, is this a flash in the pan, or this isn't the flash in the pan. This is the Renaissance, and we need to get pretty real about that pretty quick. That every now and again in society, we get the opportunity to seize back some control from very, very central organizations, and the fact it's landed on fucking JPEGs is insane. That's the most insane thing. I think, like, I genuinely laughed about it whilst tripping recently with a friend of mine heavily on mushrooms, who's also quite invested in the scene. We were like, oh my God, do you think when they made the blockchains that they realized that it was going to land on a certain megabyte, and that megabyte could only be a fucking image? Oh my God. Like, oh my God, it's going to kick off the it's going to kick off a fucking art revolution. They didn't even realize, like, and I look at it, I'm like, this is hilarious. This fucking cosmic laughter brilliance. Like, so yeah, just take like a lot of confidence and pride in that. This is sticking around. We've got some fun to be had. Get involved, like, get in and get involved, and just like, I just enjoy myself every day, like, all the time now. Like, I'm creating more than ever because I'm vitalized by the fact that I have a community and the prospect of selling work. That's important. And hey, do not be coy about selling artwork. Money is an enthusiastic feature of life. It's absolutely okay to do that, because usually when you gain capital, you reinvest. What do you think I do with my fucking wallet of soul? I don't take it all, every little bit out, and put it in my bloody joint bank account, do I? I'm like sat there like, oh, I might go and buy like that sick Indonesian artist's work of sceneries. It's what you do, man. It's the community. So it's like the whole thing. I love that. So yeah, just that. Yeah, I made a note of it earlier. I was like, I definitely want to like say that I think that this is for real.
No, I would agree with you on that. The last question I got: what do you want to be, I guess, known for in the space, and as an artist?
Um, I definitely want to keep up my multidisciplinary style. Really, I want to make sure that I can develop. Actually, yeah, that's the main thing. Is that I'm a pretty like open guy, and I'm kind of ready to let myself develop with my collectors and with my crowd and my peers. Like, I want to be known as that person that developed and shared it all, fairly. Lastly, I'd also like to say that I'm working on bringing a lot of people that I know in my community in the southwest of the UK into the scene, and I want to be known in my city as the person that kind of showed everyone how to do that. And I'm actually making plans to do my second sort of my first like talk with them in July.
Nice.
Which is going to be so it's going to be about 50 people, and I'm going to run them through sort of how to set up, I guess you call it onboarding, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to be known for that too.
I like it. You need a hype man. I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, be
Oh my God.
like hats. You gotta have. You gotta have. You know what I mean? Nah. On that one, man, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. And let's see, you got any final sayings, anything like that? Actually, no, I will. I know you don't. You said you don't have a thug bird, but I think I'm gonna start putting everyone on the spot when they come on. Can we get a caw from you? That's what I'm talking about, big dog. Stick around for a quick second. I'm gonna end it kind of how we started it, but for real, man, I appreciate you coming on, staying up late.
I was just about to say thanks for organizing this, and you're great, and this is great, and if I can help you in any way, let me know. And yeah, it's been a pleasure.
For sure, big dog. Stick around, and I'll be right back with you. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know what time it is, Big Baby! Episode 86 in the mix. One more time, if you're not already, go ahead and follow Be Like Hats on Twitter. You know you gotta hit and follow on the Thug Birds, Thug Dow, and Thug Pod. If you're not already, hit the follow on Twitch. We got YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, just about every streaming platform out there. Go ahead and show some love, y'all. Till next time, stay fresh, stay clean, stay positive, and one more time, caw-caw!